It brings me pleasure to always introduce our next speaker. There's a reason why we're #1 consultancy partner for Monday in the World, and it's down to this man who's started it all those years ago. So I'm going to leave you over to Thomas.
I was very inspired by everything going on today, so I wanted also to sort of wrap up the bag with an example of a client project we did before I go into this big consolidation thingy. It's rather simple, but I think it speaks volumes. So without going into who the company is, the company was selling a product. The product was standardized, and the product had around 4 hours of post-sales admin for every sales rep. So every time they made a sale, it was 4 hours of work with billing, with shipping, in order to get everything processed. They came to us as a consultancy firm. They had neither chose any solution. So we said, you know what? You have a very simple sales process. Your client list or potential client list is very limited. Let's build a simple CRM in Monday. Basically, one point of contact is one item. You process everything there. Volume, price, discount, you put it all there. And they were like, okay, that we can do. So what we did then was understanding what all this post admin was. And the post admin was getting paid and getting the drop shipping form filled out and sent to the drop shipping company, right? I haven't updated this image, so the people who are really knowledgeable know how old this project is based on the symbols on this PowerPoint. So we had a lead. What we did was when the salesperson marked the lead as yes or won, they had been on the phone and it said, okay, you want 20 units, this is the price, perfect, 20 units price. We had a webhook being sent. We picked that up in Integromat, which is now Make. And we created a customer in QuickBooks and also generated an invoice in QuickBooks, got the link, the payment link, because this was an American company. They always pay with credit card, even big invoices. We took the link and put it into an email saying, oh, so nice that you want to buy our product. Please make sure to process your payment here before anything gets shipped or produced, right? So they could take a day, they could take 5 weeks, it didn't matter. Nothing happened until they actually paid. There was some reminders, of course. Once they paid, QuickBooks knew, right? Webhook back to Monday, updating the status to paid. That in turn started another Make scenario where we grabbed all the data like order value, quality, name, address, and we filled out the drop shipping form for them. And we send them to the dropshipping company. So what we did, we went from 4 hours of post-sales admin to 0 seconds post-sales admin. So the whole point is that Monday was just the CRM of choice. Monday was not, in this case, what saved the time or was helping the client. Make was the time saver, the automation engine, the shabam or whatever we want to call it, right? So, what do we think the client paid for this? Anyone want to guess?
10,000.
10,000? We got another bid? Okay. Lee has heard this story before. 2.5K. Yeah. So $2,500, what was they paid for the implementation? Because we charge by the hour, and that's how long it took to set up the Monday board and the Make scenarios. And that's the value they were getting. So basically, they were earning back ROI on the first sale they did, more or less. So that's really what I also want to highlight as one of the this is where Make can do a huge difference in your organization. Anything that can be automated should be automated. Human resources are too valuable to do mundane, repetitive tasks. So now we're moving over to the other consolidation case. So consolidation, what is it? So consolidation is about gathering stuff or processes in the same software. So we have a few different ways of gathering software, all data in one place. This is usually why central IT wants to consolidate, because you have government perspective, data aggregation, and so on. But if you're being honest, if you consolidate marketing with finance, with a bunch of other software, marketing doesn't really care about the consolidation, right? For marketing team, it doesn't matter if we're all in the same system or not. So we all have different perspective of why do we want to consolidate. So the all data in one place is very much an IT, central governance thing, right? Cleaning up our IT stack, we're talking about, like, latest numbers are companies with 50 to 100 employees can have up to 40 SaaS services. Companies with around 1,000 employees can have more than 288 SaaS services in use. A lot of them shadow IT, as well, as Sebastian mentioned earlier. And this is the reality of a lot of big companies. And a lot of these have overlays, of course. We can save money because of that overlay. Most of these organizations are paying a lot more licenses than they actually have employees, because same employee probably needs to have access to several systems, right? And I want to put this into perspective with a real example. So this is a client in Stockholm. We worked with them for a very long time. They are 300 employees, very successful, hyper growth, right? It's usually when you have hyper growth that all of this starts happening, because you don't have the time to sit down, figure out your systems, figure out your processes. So they basically they had no central governance. They had outsourced IT to a third-party company that didn't really care about the governance part. And they have given their project leaders full autonomy to select whatever tool they wanted to govern their projects with. But they were engineer heavy, and we're not talking software engineer, we're talking mechanical engineer heavy company. So one engineer was always involved in multiple projects, right? So they had 7 different SaaS services to manage their projects. So imagine being an engineer at this company, right? You're involved in 5, 12, 15 projects. What does your reality, what's your day-to-day look like, right? So they were using Monday.com when we were involved, right? They were also using Asana. They were using Rike. They were using Smartsheets, Trello. They had Excel in some of the teams, and they were also using Microsoft projects. None of these tools are bad in themselves. It's the joint reality of all these tools together, and I having to find some things in Monday, some things in Asana, some things in Smartsheet. That's what's really messing up the situation, right? And also, they were paying for 700 licenses. Being 300 employees, 700 licenses, and we're not even counting the Microsoft services, because that's a bundle that exists anyways, right? So Excel and Microsoft Teams is excluded from those 700 licenses. As an engineer, I had tasks in 7 different systems, meaning I had to build my own task list. Some people on paper, some people in Excel, some even got their own Trello boards or even an 8th service to manage their stuff in, right? But none of those tasks were connected to the original plan, right? So if I had tasks in Asana and I had built my own to-do list in Excel, if the project manager changed a milestone, there was nothing connecting that to my task list, so my deadlines didn't change with the project. So they had huge problems with delays, with disjointed work, and all the missing updated deadlines. And they could not aggregate any work. Richard, Poppy, they both talked about the workload widget. That didn't exist. When you have data in 7 systems, there's no workload widget to be had, right? Because Power BI is awesome, but it cannot do that work. What we did, we had workshops with them for a very long time to understand the problem. None of the project leaders wanted to change their way of working, right? They still wanted to work the same way. But we were able to get to a point where we understood that the way of working and software is not the same thing. So if I wanted to work a certain way and I worked in Asana, I can still work with that methodology in another software. So a lot of management consultancy as well, and not only implementation. We took 3 months of scoping in order to get this right. And we had to do a 6 months proof of concept period where we did one major project in one of the softwares. And at that point, I don't know how much it tells people what we were using the app framework to deploy project templates, because the project templates was so wide and big. So we had to deploy them as apps and not as templates to have the relationship between the boards still built in. But what we were able to do was we reduced the spend by 57%, and their total productivity increased by 40%. And a lot of this 40% was just about engineers actually being able to do their job instead of managing their job, right? So those 40% equate to 16 hours every week that we were able to get increased productivity from each single engineer. And this might sound like a really crazy edge case. This is not. Like, if you do what we do, this is something you see a lot. It's a problem that a lot of hyper-growth, quickly growing companies have. And consolidation, I mean, I'm speaking about consolidation from a Monday perspective, but they would have gotten these effects no matter which software they had chosen, to certain degrees, more or less, of course, but a lot of these time saving they would have gotten no matter what software. And I want to stress this as well. So it's not Monday as the magic sauce here. It's the fact that we need to have central governance. We need to have certain toll gates in place and not allow total anarchy within our organization. And I know a lot of you guys are sitting here with different tools. I know one person here who had 3 teams joining for the Monday implementation, and one was like, no, we want to stay in Microsoft projects. Very well, leadership was exhausted there and said, listen, it's not happening. Microsoft team is dead. Everybody's working in Monday, like it or not, but you have to do it. And sometimes that's what is needed. And sometimes what we need is what Richard discussed, the empowerment of the actual end user. Both exist at the same time. I want to show you like really what it means when we do everything connected in one software, because Monday is a bit unique in that regards that it's not just project management that we can consolidate. We can consolidate a lot of different processes. So we can start with sales and marketing. We can have our marketing calendar. We can plan the creative work within the marketing team that becomes campaign management, social media and web publishing calendar. We're even automating that ourselves. So we have a board where we basically say who's the target audience, what is for thought leadership. We can send that over to ChatGPT to get a draft blog post. And then we can schedule that to be published more or less automatically on LinkedIn and other services, all within Monday. We can then, after doing active marketing, we get our MQLs, we get those leads into Monday CRM, where we manage our opportunities, companies, and contacts. Already now, we can start also tracking things back, because we can tag all those leads with the source and directly contribute and credit the different campaigns and the different materials, right? So we're getting like bonus value just from the sales and marketing motion in one software. Let's not talk about client delivery. I'm calling it client delivery because sometimes it's project management. In our case, it's an implementation organization, but any kind of client delivery. Because we have the CRM in Monday, we can have early access. So let's say that an opportunity reaches 80, 90% maturity. We're getting close to signing. That can already create a template project for implementation, which they can start planning resources around. So once we actually get the signature, we can start working earlier. We don't need to wait another 3 to 5 weeks when the resources open up, because they're already shadow planned or variation planned. We can do the whole client intake. We can do client onboarding. We can do the projects and go all the way to invoicing from Monday. Monday can be integrated to most common invoicing software, Xero, QuickBooks, whatever. Most of them actually has native integrations, and if they don't, we do it with Make. Most invoicing integrations are done in less than a day thanks to Make. We get really cool dashboards, as we talked about, charts, widgets, and so on, because we have the data in the system. It's still not Power BI, but it's good enough for day-to-day. And that's the key, right? Good enough, real-time data for critical decision-making day-to-day, not for making big decisions after a month of data compiling. Richard actually said last time when he did his speech, he said, he used to get the questions from his boss about the situation, he always asked, do you want like the real numbers or this? Because if you want the real numbers, you can wait 2 weeks. And this is really true, right? But in a system like Monday, we do have real-time data. All the dashboards update. As soon as the status changes, it's reflected in the dashboard. We can bring this further if we want to, right? Because we're talking about Monday as a holistic system right now. We can start bringing legal for case management. We can start having HR processes, yearly planning, task management. There's some really nice business as usual workflows for HR, not only for on and offboarding of personnel, but it's also a very good use case, of course. And we can also do finance with work collaboration. A lot of companies does end of month closures thanks to Monday checklist. And this is a different beast. This is what we mean when we say work operating system. We're not talking about a niche software. Let me put my money where my mouth is, right? This is the full IT stack of Omnitas. Because Monday and Make. We have Adobe Creative Cloud. It's really hard to edit videos and movies without the right stuff, right? We have MailerLite, we have WordPress because that's what our web pages run on. We use Calendly for booking meetings. We have G Suite. We have Slack because of Monday. We use Fort Knox for invoicing. We use Monday for everything else, and we use Make for connecting everything. This is our IT stack. This is not impossible. Yes, we're not as big as Lear, we're not as big as FlyDogs, but we're still in the size where we're supposed to have up to 40 SaaS services. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is really what we can be helping you guys with as well, not only implementing Monday or building scenarios in Make. We are qualified management consultants. Feel free to use us for that. And with that, I think this is my last slide. And it's been a lovely having everyone here. So thank you guys.